A bill aiming to crack down on the practice of forced organ harvesting in China has passed in the House of Representatives. The Stop Forced Organ Harvesting Act of 2025 was introduced by Catholic Congressman Chris Smith from New Jersey. Representative Smith says the Chinese Communist Party is killing tens of thousands of young people, Uyghurs, and Falun Gong practitioners in China to steal their organs.
These are the kind of atrocities that are analogous to the Nazi Germany when they were doing horrific experiments on individuals. And now we have a situation where they're taking these organs.
This legislation would grant new sanctions on individuals involved in the practice of the involuntary removing of organs. The penalties range from blocking entry into the U.S. and revoking visas to fines and prison sentences. Just last year, the Chinese government issued new protocols and guidelines on organ transplants, part of which states that people cannot be coerced or forced into donating their organs. But as we see from the legislation proposed by Representative Chris Smith, illegal harvesting is still a concern. Dr. Joseph Meany from the National Catholic Bioethics Center joins us now to further discuss this issue. Dr. Meany, how prevalent is illegal forced organ harvesting in China?
It seems like it's a rather massive problem. So there's an estimated 20,000 organ transplants that take place every year in China. Half of those happen in military hospitals, which have access to prisoners. And, in the past, China openly used transplanted organs from prisoners. Since 2015, they said that they no longer do this. But actually in China, there's a very small percentage of people who are willing to donate their organs. So it doesn't seem like the organs are being sourced ethically. Also because the wait times are very, very short for getting an organ in China, which wouldn't make sense if they were relying on just normal donations as opposed to forced donations.
And can you tell us how many people are involved when they are taking these organs? How complex is the process?
Yeah, so they have a nationwide network of individuals who will be sourcing those organs, who will be communicating with potential recipients. And then, of course, they have large medical teams for actually doing the operations.
And where does the United States figure into this illegal harvesting? Do these procedures happen here?
So the process in the United States is, very difficult to obtain illegal organs. And so what ends up happening, of course, is that individuals who don't quite qualify or have been on the waiting list for a long time will go abroad to countries that don't have such strong procedures to prevent, illegal harvesting. And so that ends up being the transplant tourism industry, which plays into the fact that, people will be then obtaining these organs illegally and from individuals who hadn't ethically donated them.
And from a Catholic perspective, illegal organ harvesting is not within church teaching. But what does the church say about receiving organs and donating them?
Yeah, St. John Paul II, in Evangelium Vitae, his encyclical on the Gospel of Life, said that it was a very generous thing as long as it was done ethically, as long as there was informed consent and all the proper ethical procedures were put into order. It was a very generous act and was encouraging people to do this as a form of heroism.
Thank you, Dr. Meany, for being with us today.
Thank you.